Hey everyone, Chris Gonzalez here from the Movement Training Company, where it is my job to help outdoor enthusiasts prepare their bodies to adventure forever. Today we have another gear review and we are looking at the Trail Magik Carrier. We're going to talk about what this is, what this isn't, and two important safety features that you can make right away to cover up some gray areas and things that I don't particularly love about this. But once you make those two adjustments, I absolutely love this carrier. It's very convenient. I have a small 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and so they're able to ride in this depending on who's having a harder time that day. But this is something that carries a lot of bang for its size, a lot of punch per ounce, if you will. So I just roll it up. I keep it in my pack anytime we're going on a long hiking trip or a backpacking adventure when I'm carrying a heavy pack that has good support that's appropriate for use with a carrier like this. So let's dive into what this is and what this isn't. The Trail Magik Carrier is not a replacement for your long duration carriers like the Poco Osprey Plus. It is not a replacement for your long duration carriers like the Lille baby carrier. I don't even know if I can untangle this to show you. There you go. And it's not a replacement for your ergos like this or anything like that. What this is, it's an incredible solution to the problem of when you're out hiking or backpacking and your toddler starts to get a little bit fussy and they need to be carried for a little bit, but you don't want to have to use your arms. So this clips to the front of your backpacking backpack. These clip on the bottom part of the chest strap, and I'll show you all this in a minute. These clip to the gear loops up around the top. You have adjustable clips here so you can change the size you need. And also, I didn't notice this when I first got it, but it actually has a couple different loop distances down here as well so that you can adjust the seating area for your specific child's needs. So that is the purpose of this. It's for short duration carries when you have a big backpacking type pack like the Poco Osprey Carrier, or you have your own, 65 liter Osprey pack or Deuter or whatever it is you're using. But the big thing that I'm gonna emphasize over and over is it needs to be a backpacking pack. And they even say this on their website. It needs to have the back support, it needs to have the thick padded hip belts, and it needs to be rated for carrying heavy weight, because again, you're gonna be holding your child with this. The support of this is directly tied to the support of this. So that's why you need to make sure it's rated for some heavy weight. Now, I have unfortunately seen pictures of people using it on things as small as their camelbacks and even recommending, oh yeah, it works great with this. But the thing is, this is not weighted for heavy weight. While they may look very similar, the weight ratings on the webbing on something like a small camel pack are not the same as the weight ratings for something on your giant backpacking pack, which are not the same ratings as what you would use as an anchor for rock climbing. So all this webbing looks incredibly similar, but without knowing the technical specs, without knowing, what they did at the seams, how they stitched it, without knowing the weight rating of the buckles, it's not a great idea. In fact, I'll downright say it's a terrible idea to throw your child up to 44 pounds onto a pack like this, because this pack was never intended to bear that much weight, and it especially wasn't intended to bear that much weight on the front of it. So you can tell I get a little fired up about this because I'm all about safety, hence the line of helmets up there. So make sure, and even, I'm gonna keep going, even your day packs like this is a great day pack, Flash 22 from REI. It doesn't have the thick support on the hip belt, and it's only a 22 liter, so I wouldn't put them on there. I would put them on this 40 liter because it has a padded hip belt, and a 40 liter is gonna be designed to carry some heavy weight. Ideally, you go even heavier than that, like a 65, like one of these, because all these straps, specifically the front strap, is gonna be weighted for a decent amount of weight. Yes, you bear a lot of it on your hips when it's in the back, but I, for one at least, have pretty good confidence that these straps are gonna be able to hold up when it is distributed over 4 points. So again, that is super important to make sure you have a strong, sturdy backpack to anchor your child to. Okay, off my soapbox. So how does this attach? I'm gonna show you on the Poco Osprey Plus, because it stands up nicely and I don't have to put it on myself. So these two carabiners we talked about at the beginning, you're gonna adjust the loops however they need to be for your child, and it's gonna be some trial and error. You're gonna clip it to the base of the back strap here. Next, you're gonna grab this buckle and thread it through one of the gear loops. And this is something that I honestly have a problem with, and we're gonna come up with a solution with together. But you thread it through the gear loop, you loop it around, you buckle it in, then you grab your child or your teddy bear if you're so inclined, and you loop this through the other side the same way. For simplicity's sake, I'm gonna just throw it on the top here, which maybe some people do anyway. That gets your child clipped in. Their heads, if they're not bears, are all the way up here, and you're gonna be adjusting these top straps to get a nice snug fit to carry your child safely for a short to medium duration. And children up to 44 pounds, I believe, is what they say on their website. Now, I have two big problems with this setup, but I will tell you, I absolutely do love this carrier once you make some adjustments. So my first main problem is these gear loops, even on a heavy duty backpacking pack, I've never seen any sort of weight rating specifying what these can hold. And I, for one, don't like the idea of putting my child's safety on a loop where I don't understand the weight rating. The other problem is, and I'll show you on this one because it's a little easier to see, is on any of these straps you're buckling into, you have webbing on webbing. And anytime you have fabric on fabric that's moving, you have a high likelihood of friction causing some damage to the straps. And eventually, that's right, it can break and cause a problem. Again, I've never heard of this happening, but this, in my opinion, is an unnecessary risk that you just don't need to be taking, because with a very easy adjustment, you can solve both these problems. So what you're gonna need is simply some paracord and 2 extra carabiners. So what we're gonna do with this, first, you're just gonna tie a simple knot. I just do an overhand knot with a long tail. So here, let me show you that. So you're gonna cut a length of paracord about 18 inches to 2 feet long. You're gonna match the 2 sides. Then you're just gonna tie an overhead knot, leaving a generous tail, and there's a million other knots you could do. This is just the one I'm using right now. And you're gonna make sure there's plenty of tail on the ends so that they don't slip off. You can burn the ends like I did, because once you cut it, it tends to fray. And then go ahead and dress your knot, squeeze it tight, make sure there's no movement in there at all. So that's what you need to do with your paracord. Next, you're going to have your carabiner. So we're gonna do something called a Prusik knot, and we use this a lot in climbing. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna wrap around, and we'll see if I can get you to see this. We're gonna have one side pulled out, and we're gonna run the other through the middle about 2 times. And you might need to cinch it a little bit so that it squeezes on the pack strap, but we'll get to that in a minute. So once you wrap it that second time around, you're pulling it through this same outer loop, and then by just pulling this inner loop, every time you pull it, it should cinch tighter and tighter around the strap. That allows it not to slide. Now, you have a couple options here. One, you can pre-cinch it so you know it's hugging here, and if you pull, it's not gonna move. But the downside of that is you're going to cause some permanent defects, most likely in the padding on this strap. So what I do is, after I test the cinch and make sure everything works and it's flowing nicely, I loosen it so it's only just barely hugging the fabric, and then I still have my loop right here that I'm going to clip into in just a minute. So with this loop here, you're going to take your carabiner, you're going to clip through the Prusik loop, and then you're going to clip through the gear loop. Now you want to set this up so that the weight is being held on the gear loop. And this way, if the gear loop, God forbid, fails, because again, we don't know the weight rating, I haven't heard any tragedy stories yet, but if it does fail, your Prusik is then, let me unbuckle it so I can show you, your Prusik is then going to be engaged once the gear loop breaks and your baby's falling to their demise. This pulls tight around the strap and catches them. So there's a little bit of a jostle, but not much is gonna happen. Again, if you pre-cinch it, you can even avoid that jostle, but you might have some issues with the strap long term. So the reason for the Prusik is, as you pull on this loop, it immediately cinches and then it doesn't slide. Like I'm legitimately pulling hard and it's not moving. So that is how you can back up this gear loop that you would be clipping directly into. Now with the carabiner here, this also solves our other problem of having the fabric on fabric friction. It's kind of hard to say. All right, so you can now run your clip through here. You still have all the full adjustability of this strap, and it's so much easier to do because once you have one side on and you put your kit in and you're trying to thread your other side through, at least for me, it's actually pretty difficult and kind of annoying. Whereas with the carabiner, you can leave this clipped once you get the adjustment for your individual child, and now you can just clip in and clip out as easy as can be. So it makes it not only a lot more convenient, but we're avoiding the potential of that friction between the fabrics causing to tearing, ripping, or complete severing of either of these fabrics. So these are my highly recommended must-do adjustments to the Trail Magik Carrier. You're adding a couple of ounces to pack weight, so it's not a big deal. You can leave this set up on your pack at all times, so you don't have to be doing this every single time. Once you get that Prusik right, once you get the carabiner clipped in, then you simply, as with the regular Trail Magik usage, you just clip in and clip out, roll it up. You can throw it in your side drink pouch. It's out of the way until your kid gets a little fussy, and then you can pull it out, easily toss them back in. Not only is it just as easy, it's even easier than before, but you have the extra layers of safety. So let me know what you think about this in the comments. If you decide the Trail Magik Carrier is for you, feel free to use my 10% off coupon because it saves you money and I get a small kickback from it as well. And hey, who doesn't love free money? Speaking of supporting the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos, like a review for this guy.